1 in 4 young people will have a major depressive illness before the age of 18, and we know as psychologists that bullying is a major driver. Research a few years ago showed that kids who were bullied were 3 times more likely to develop depressive symptoms. So clearly it's essential that we address this key reason for depression.
One of the problems is that people in the past tended to treat it as something that just happened and you couldn't do anything about it. But what we've begun to realise is that you can do something about it, and if you don't do something about it, people are going to be affected often for the rest of their lives, may even be driven to suicide. But even if they're not, I've known people in their 50s and 60s who've told me that they've never recovered from the bullying that they received at school. And you see young kids too who are the subject of bullying. And of course we've got these terrible problems for kids with disadvantages, or kids, the homophobic bullying that's so prevalent, and other forms of bullying against people who might have physical or other disabilities. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because ordinary kids without those disabilities also suffer. So we really need to do something about it.
The issue of bullying is serious because it's such a complex issue, and I think it's not about the child that's being the bully or the victim. It's about the harm it brings to everyone. Bullying hurts, full stop.
Well, bullying's so serious because it's not a rite of passage. It's not something that will toughen kids up. It actually has real-world impacts and real-world consequences for them. So we need to address it, and we need to address it now.
Bullying is a very serious issue in children's lives. It can have a devastating effect on them. It can cause them not to want to go to school, to feel unhappy, to get depressed. In some cases it can cause self-harming behaviour, and sadly it can even lead to suicide.
I think the first thing that we need to do is to have a really good understanding about what is the nature of bullying. So who's doing it, why they're doing it, what support services are available, how do we intervene, how do we provide support, and for me, critically, how do we encourage young people to seek help when they're being bullied?
From my perspective, one of the things that we need to do to address bullying is to have more longitudinal research so that we can actually tell if our efforts are actually making any difference. We need national baseline data that can follow students through all over Australia to be able to see how our interventions are actually reducing bullying.
We now know a lot about what can be done about it. Maybe about 10 years ago we didn't. But the evidence now is that anti-bullying programs are successful, not as much as they ought to be or can be, but certainly they are reducing bullying.
Addressing the issue of bullying is very, very complex, and it requires a whole of community response which involves government, industry, media, parents, schools, that create more respectful and inclusive communities where bullying doesn't flourish.